Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For today's preview, Bulls versus Connacht, which will happen at the same time as Scarlets versus Lions as the second round of the United Rugby Championship gets underway, with both Connacht and Bulls looking for their first victories of the tournament. Connacht going down to Cardiff last week Friday before the Bulls were dismantled by Leinster on Saturday in what was quite a rude awakening to Jake White and his side. In their first sort of campaign over in the Northern Hemisphere. So both these sides looking for improved performances, and they still sort of look to find their feet within the new competition. Obviously, new format, new conditions for the Bulls, and they're a side that's been quite accustomed to winning for quite a long time. You know, they pretty much walked most of the trophies in South Africa. So it must have been quite a strange feeling for a lot of those players to sort of be outplayed by such a good side. So they'll be hoping for a big response, and not too many changes for the Bulls, but a couple of big names back into the squad in the forms of two former Springboks, which will add a lot of experience to the side as well. For Connacht, anticipating a very physical blow, they've named a couple of very big and physical characters in their starting lineup to try and sort of counterbalance this, what's going to be a very big Bulls pack that are going to try and sort of front up and have a go at the home side tonight. Before we look at the two teams and see what they bring, please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. We will be live for this game tonight. It'll be Lakanya taking you through. So come and hang out as we gear ourselves up to week 2 of United Rugby Championship, as well as the last weekend of the Rugby Championship. We'll be live tomorrow. Australia versus Argentina tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And then the big one, New Zealand versus South Africa at 12:05. We'll be live for both those games. Lakanya will be taking you through the earlier game, and then I'll be taking you through South Africa versus New Zealand. But before then, we have to go and watch some match over in Ireland. And it should be quite an interesting clash. And I think the Bulls, as I said, we'll be hoping for a response tonight. But in terms of the home side, this is how Connacht will, in fact, line up a couple of very experienced players, quite a few Irish international players, a couple of players with, over 20 caps and stuff like that. So a couple of big names. And very importantly, a couple of very big players. Especially if you look at the likes of somebody like Leva Fafita, who's 19 capped, Tongan on the bench, who will be making his Connacht debut and weighs in at about 116 kgs and just out 2 meters. So it brings a lot of sort of thud value and lots of physicality to the side itself. But starting in the front row, we've got the 23-year-old Jordan Huggan and Finlay Bealham as the two props. And they'll be next to the Dave Heffernan. Between Heffernan and Bealham, they're both 20 caps for Ireland. They've also both played Barbarians rugby, so very experienced operators there. In the second row, Oisin Darling and Alton Delane, who are probably a little bit smaller than the Bulls locks, but Delane will bring a lot of bulk, 1.98, 114 kg, so he'll be a very big ball carrier tonight, as well as obviously quite a big line-out option there. If we're looking at the loose trio, Cian Prendergast, the 21-year-old Jared Butler, and Abraham Papili. Abraham Papili comes into the starting lineup, was not involved last week, and again, he's sort of one of the big players who are coming in to sort of add a bit of bulk. 1.94, 118 kgs, the New Zealander. Very, very big player, 28 years old, been around the block for a lot, and he'll bring a lot of grunt up front. In terms of the backline, it's largely unchanged from last weekend. So we've got Kieran Momian and Jack Carty as your halfback combination, both Ireland capped. And Marbian is a very, very experienced operator. He's got almost 190 caps for Connacht. He's got 28 caps for Ireland. He's been around the block and will bring a lot of experience and a calm head, really, in a match where Connacht will want to bounce back, because I think the match last weekend was a match they would have liked to have won. I think they'll be frustrated they haven't won. So they'll be targeting this match as a potential match to try and make a statement. In terms of the rest of the backline, Mac Hansen and John Porch are the two wings. In the centres, we will have Tom Daly and Tom Farrell. John Porch is a man to watch. Played quite a few games for Ireland, and lots of pace on wide there. And then at fullback, we will have Tiernan O'Halloran, who's also got a couple of caps for Ireland. He's played a lot of rugby for Connacht over the years, coming in on almost 200 caps, which will probably surpass the 200 caps mark over the course of the season. And then off the bench, Shane Delahan, Matthew Burke, and Jack Ungia will be the replacement front row. And then Leva Fafita, as I said, will make his debut tonight. Connor Oliver, Cameron Blade, Paul Boyle, and Sammy Arnold will be the rest of the bench. So it's quite an experienced side with a couple of big names. Still no sort of the big names like Andy Aki, who hasn't returned. But so much like the other sides, it's probably not their strongest side. But I don't think any side are currently putting out the strongest side they possibly can with internationals, with players still coming back from preseason, stuff like that. We'll probably only start seeing the strongest sides that these URC teams can put out in about December, I'd imagine, after sort of the end of the year international tours. In terms of the Bulls, not too many changes, but some big changes up front. Lizo Koboka makes his return in a Bulls jersey. He'll start in the number 1 jersey. Him and Jacques van Rooyen will anchor next to Joe van Zyl. So it's actually a new front row. Bismarck du Plessis drops to the bench, as does Mornay Smith. But Sampio Mantanzima keeps his spot on the bench. Stennekamp and has dropped out of the 23 completely. But look, I mean, Koboka is a fantastic operator. We know how much experience. In fact, I think he should probably be with the Springboks, which is incredible when you think of the loose head depth the Springboks currently have, especially with Trevor Nyakani now operating back at loose head. But whilst Jacob Bruno Kier, they are probably the best sort of lock combination in the country. Just really, really, really mature players for the sort of the age they are. And I think Ruan Nokia is sort of destined to be in Springbok colours. Very, very good. He's a bit like a sort of Franco Mostert mold, where week in, week out, he just delivers the same sort of quality performance. He gets around the park. He makes his tackles. Very hard worker. But it's the loose cheer that boasts all that sort of the star quality that the Bulls are sort of starting to be known about. And Marcel Coetzee captaining the side, Honor Botha, Albert Lowe. Honor Botha, very important player, as is Marcel Coetzee. In these conditions, both of them have spent time playing overseas, so they'll understand what it's like to play in Ireland in October, because it is the 1st of October today. And then Zach Berger will partner Jan Goosen. Jan Goosen, a bit of an off day last weekend. Didn't start well with the first kickoff of the game, actually, going straight into touch. So he'll be hoping for a much improved performance and being able to try and sort of grab the game by the scruff of its neck and sort of take control. Shavina Jacobs coming into the side, and Madosh Tamwe drops out. Lionel Pugh and Harold Forster continue their centre combination. Their Cornel Hendricks continues to play on the wing, but it is a first start for new signing Ruan Combrink, who comes into the sides in place of David Creel. I thought he had quite a confident start to last weekend. He has played a lot of rugby as David Creel, probably far more than they would have expected him to have played given his age. But it'll be very interesting to see what Ruan Combrink is like tomorrow. Obviously, that big boot of his will be quite useful. I don't know if you're going to start seeing sort of 50-22s and stuff like that. We have seen a couple in the URC so far, but not that many. And then off the bench, as we said, Bismarck du Plessis, Sampio Mantanzima, and Mornay Smith. Then you've got Janko Swanepoel and Jacques du Plessis covering the rest of the scrum. Jacques du Plessis is a very nice player to have. He can cover flank, sort of was more of a lock coming through the system, but a very big physical presence. And then bolstered by the return of Ambrose Papier, former Springbok Ambrose Papier. I mean, he's a really good player, and I think that he'll probably start pushing Zach Berger for that starting berth quite soon. And he must get back to the Springbok squad. I think there's no doubt about that. He's still got ambitions to play in the green and gold. And when he's playing at his best, I think he is one of the best scrum-halves in the country. And then you got Chris Smith and Steban Gans, who can cover the rest of the backline. Chris Smith, he sort of proved himself in that Currie Cup final, but he'll still have to keep sort of proving himself over and over again. With Mornay Steyn coming back, it'll be interesting to start seeing, do we see Jan Goosen continuing at number 10 all full time? Do we see Mornay Steyn coming off the bench? Do we start seeing Jan Goosen maybe operating the centres or at full back? Quite interesting to see what happens there. Steban Gans is another one who would be like to be starting. Was terrific outside centre before he went off to the sevens, and definitely someone that's worth keeping an eye out in the future. So that's how the two sides line up. Let me know what your score predictions are down in the comments below. Please do smash like on the video as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Stephen, and I'll chat to you soon.